So you know how traveling is, and our plans have changed. We were supposed to be back in Tennessee by today, I believe it was. We were going to be back home at our home place in Tennessee.
Yep, we had finished up our sojourn where we had volunteered for a couple of weeks at a Christian camp to help prep them for the summer.
Yep, but we have had a death in the family, and so we've had to change our route a little bit and head down to Mobile, Alabama. We are staying just outside of Mobile, and here's the problem.
Right behind us, you can see.
Right behind us.
A big storm's coming across the United States and affecting greatly the South.
Yeah.
And
we are in the danger zone.
Yeah. So we really have to be prepared and be ready for this storm. In fact, the plan was to leave after the services and get halfway back home on Saturday. But
yeah, because we need to be home on Sunday, but that's not going to happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. You've heard me talk about RV Weather. Go to their website at rvweather.com. And what it does is helps you plan your route. You've seen other apps that will kind of tell you what the weather's going to be along the way. This actually helps you kind of go around storms and avoid storms. It reroutes you. It helps you plan to avoid those storms.
Yeah.
And this is such a bad event. It said, stay put. Don't leave until Sunday morning. So that's what we're planning to do.
If you watch any TV at all, you've seen this is a huge system affecting millions of people.
Right.
So we thought this would be a good time to go over weather safety when you're in your RV.
Yep, we've got a checklist that we'll go through that just kind of helps remind you of what to think about during a storm. And if you happen to want that checklist, go to our About page on YouTube, and you'll see our email address. Just send us a note. Just put weather safety checklist in the subject matter, and we'll send it out to you.
I'm Lynn.
And I'm Danny.
Welcome to RV America.
The original RV America.
Now let's talk weather. So the number one thing to do when you're traveling in your RV is to be weather aware.
Yes, but whether you're making a plan for a route or whether you're at a campground or boondocking somewhere, you've got to be weather aware. And one of the first things we do is once we get set up is scan for local channels. One thing we do, we don't watch a lot of TV, but one thing we always do is watch the weather. Usually every single day we're watching the weather that morning while we're having coffee, just to make sure we're looking out 3 or 4 days out to make sure there's not going to be issues.
Yeah.
Because there's been times that we've had to pack up and leave to avoid storms, leaving a day early, take a different route. That you won't know those things unless you're weather aware.
There's so many different ways to get weather in our today's world. You can use your phone. Everyone has a weather app of some sort. They're all free. One of the things we do is we watch the morning news, as Danny mentioned, but we also have Alexa. And Alexa, you can ask her how the weather is.
I'll notify you when there is a weather alert for Theodore. By the way, U.S. National Weather Service has issued a high surf warning for your area.
Alexa's a great source.
One of the top tips is have a NOAA radio. They are something you're going to need if you lose TV, maybe your phone dies. And that's why I really like this one. It has 3 ways to charge. Not only can you plug it up to make sure it's charged before the storm comes in, but it also has a crank that if you I've been without electricity after a hurricane for weeks, and also it has a little solar to help it keep topped off. But these are great to have so you can get the weather when you need it. This has, I'll put a link to this one because it's pretty good. It's got a flashlight on both ends, and it's got the regular radio, and it's something we use all the time just to get around the rig, but also when storms are coming.
From the Mobile, Pensacola National Weather Service. A small craft advisory is in effect.
Another thing we do is we have Fire TV, and we're able to, through the internet on TV, pick up like the Weather Channel or other similar networks that you can pick up. And there's some apps out there that can help you with that. So it's being weather aware, and we're 3 days out from this storm, and then we've been watching this probably 6, 7 days out.
Most of the week, yeah. And it's funny because this storm is so big. It says it has been like 5 years since they predicted a storm this far in advance.
Yeah.
For people to start paying attention to it and being aware of it and know what you're going to do. So we can't leave where we're at right now in order to avoid this storm. We have to be here for a funeral service on Saturday. So we don't have a choice but to stay. However,
we always said this, and as we said in the intro, is that if you can avoid that weather by leaving, making different travel plans, having enough flexibility in your travel days where you can leave or go a different direction or a different route.
If we did not have to be here on Saturday, we would have gone north instead of coming south, and we would be at our home base safe and secure, and this would not even be an issue for us.
But always remember, consider leaving. So another thing we suggest is consider turning off your propane if a storm's coming. Because if you have a major disaster with your rig and a fire started and propane line is cut, it is going to get worse quick. Which leads us to something you've heard me talk about before. It's called gasstop. Gasstop is an automatic propane cutoff system. That way, if you're driving down the road and a rock hits your propane line and you have a major leak, it's automatically going to cut it off. And it would work great during a storm like this. If you had a leak during a storm, it would automatically cut it off. That will save you so much headache and so much worries by having a gasstop. Because the way I look at it, if my RV gets tossed around because of a storm, I'd much rather that gasstop cut off the propane leak. It's so much better to have a rig that you can go check out, see what's left, see what's going on with it, what can be repaired, versus a major propane leak and it goes up in flames. So I'll put a link to that down below. Check it out if you'd like to.
So one of the major important things to do is know where your storm shelters are. If you know there's bad weather coming, don't wait until you need to get into the storm shelter in order to find it. Check it out in advance and know where it's at. This Saturday is not a day I would want to be cracker docking. We love cracker docking, but there is nowhere to go to in the middle of the night if a tornado comes through and you're in the middle of the Cracker Barrel parking lot. So you don't want to be there. You want to be somewhere and stay somewhere where you have a way to get out of your rig and into a safe place.
So another thing on your checklist should be those weather apps that we talked about. And what I want you to be aware of is have those set where you can get notifications, get alerts, get warnings in any time of day, but especially at the middle of the night. Have your volume up, have it where you can get those alerts so you know there's been a tornado warning or tornado watch that's been placed and you're able to get to that safe spot. Now, Lynn and I use our phones a little bit different. Her volume is always off, her notifications, her ring is always off. So, and mine goes to has a sleep mode, which turns off the volume at night. Mine's always on it during the day. But one thing I do is make sure that sleep mode is turned off, that when I'm expecting bad weather that night. So make sure whether you keep your volume low or down, make sure you take the time to have that volume up and ready to give you that alert. The next tip is be ready during the night. Have beside your bed a go bag, have it with your shoes, rain gear, flashlight, any other thing that you might need in case you do have to run to that tornado shelter to avoid that storm.
So where we're parked at right now, this is not an issue. However, you want to be sure with storms, there's always a chance of flooding. So if you're in an area that the water rises quickly, make sure your rig's out of the way. You don't want to come back from the storm shelter and find that your rig is in several feet of water because the water rose so quickly. So be aware of that.
Next, make sure you check your site. If you're parked somewhere in the campground or anywhere else, you're looking at trees. One thing that we were in a spot not too long ago, looking at dead limbs and trees that could have possibly fell on the rig. Be aware of your surroundings. You might not want to be near big trees. You might move to a different site or even to a different campground to avoid those big trees that could fall on your rig.
So don't wait till the last minute to secure all your outdoor belongings. In advance, put your chairs up, pull in your awning. We have been at campgrounds where just the winds came through and our neighbor's awning was destroyed. You don't want that if you can avoid it. So pick everything up, get everything stowed, make sure everything is where it will not blow to kingdom come.
Don't forget to make sure you have your stabilizing jacks down to keep you from rocking. And you should make sure during bad weather, bad rains, bad winds, bring those slides in so you're not getting more areas shaking that will put you off level, and less chance of rain coming in.
So as y'all know, we travel with the zoo. We have 2 cats and a dog. That's 3 animals. You have to prepare in advance for them when you want to take them out of the rig for anything. We have 2 of these bags here that we carry. We put Alvin and Sadie in each. They each have their own. We put them in this. That way, you know, cats will run from you if you're outside and they're in your arms and a bolt of lightning hits. They're going to run away. We don't want to lose our fur babies. So we put them in this. Bella, all we have to do is have her leash on her and she will stick right with us like glue. It's not a big deal. But you have to prepare in advance when you have animals that travel with you. Prepare for your pets so they can be ready to evacuate with you.
Something that we hadn't thought about and we're now adding to our checklist is, it was said that if you're expecting or there's a lot of lightning around in the area, to unplug your rig from the shore power. So think about it. If the lightning strikes nearby and runs through an electrical line up through that pedestal, and it's going to end up in your rig destroying a lot of equipment and a lot of electronics. So think about that. Unplug from the pedestal if you're expecting a lot of lightning.
So this is just a good general rule, and hopefully no one ever gets hurt in your rig, but carry a first aid kit with you. That way you are prepared if the worst happens. And it's just a good general rule, even when there's not bad weather, carry a first aid kit. One of the things you really need to do is be seasonally aware of the weather. Everyone knows that in the fall, you have lots of hurricanes that come on the coast. Also, in the spring, you have the tornadoes that come through the central part of the country. You need to be aware of these. I would say to you, don't go during those times, but we already have a month's worth of reservations for hurricane season at Dauphin Island. So I can't tell you not to do something that I'm going to do myself. However, I will say this. If a hurricane comes in while we're at Dauphin Island, we're not going to sit there and wait it out. We are going to pack it up and move north and get away from it. You may get caught in one, but your home's on wheels, so just get away from it. So we're back at our home base, getting ready to open up this thing and get it cleaned up before we get ready to head to Alaska.
Yep, just got a matter of weeks before we got to do a turnaround, so we'll be doing that. We wanted to let you know how we fared for the storm. And go ahead.
It did not get as bad as they thought it was going to in our area. We actually got by with a little bit of rain and a few claps of thunder. Nothing major where we were at.
No, unfortunately, a lot of the South was not that fortunate. You read or heard on the news about so many people that had damage and loss of life, and our thoughts.
30-something people died from these storms across the country. And they were very serious.
And that's why you must be ready, because you never know. It's so wide, it might affect some areas and not affect others, so you've got to be ready. And that's why we had those tips.
Especially if you're in an RV. We were on our way home, and I-65 north, and I can't remember, I think it was south of Birmingham.
Yes.
And there was an RV lot over there. It was not a campground. It was a lot that sold new RVs. And they were just laying on their side. They were turned over.
Big motorhomes, heavy motorhomes.
And they were just all in a mess. Those people have got major damage. And I'm just grateful it wasn't us. And I'm grateful that, you know, if you're in that situation where that storm's coming, please take precautions. So take these tips and just remember them, and always be prepared if you have storms in your area.
Yep, be weather aware.
We hope you'll take the time right quick to hit that subscribe button.
And that notification bell.
It really helps us out, and it's free. How often do you get something free in today's world? Until next time, God bless and many safe travels.
And go RV, America.